what's up you guys, this is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Quick Draw we've got full-on herpes when we take a look at the Mutalist. Wait, what? Paracyst? No. It's Quanta, Mutalist, Quanta, then Mutalist, right? No? Well, fuck! So, weird naming conventions aside, the Paracyst is the third in the STD progression trilogy. See kids, this is what happens when you don't use protection and are too scared to get your junk checked out when your pee starts to burn. It fucking grows an extra limb and a goddamn mouth. Now, while I haven't necessarily loved the series, I must give credit where credit is due. DE really pushed the mechanical envelope when it came to the set, and they definitely haven't skimped here. They combined elemental based damage, a burst fire trigger, and the first ever grapple secondary fire. Now, while it's pretty much agreed that the Quanta is the powerhouse of the first duo, the question is, after the recent buff, how does the Paracyst measure up? So you can pick up the Paracyst blueprint in the biolab of your clan dojo, but only after you've completed the appropriate clan research. However, if the officers in your clan suck and completely ignore requests to get research started, you can always pick it up in the market, pre-built along with a catalyst and weapon slot for 225 plat. So the Paracyst's base damage is Toxin, which is fan-freaking-tastic. On its own, it bypasses basic corpus shielding and enjoys damage bonuses against flesh, ferrite armor, and proto-shielding. However, it pairs quite well to create the corrosive and viral elements. So, regardless of whether you're just splashing Toxin or tossing together a combo, it's a great base to start with. Now, let's start with the basics. Its primary trigger is a 3-round projectile burst fire. While it does have the lowest base damage of the burst fire weapons, it does feature the highest fire rate in between bursts. In addition, it ties with the burst on prime with having the highest status chance of its trigger type. Now, usually I don't mention this, but the thing about the Paracyst is due to its mono damage type, modding this solely for viral damage with 2 elemental status mods will almost guarantee a viral proc once in every burst. It doesn't have to compete with the other IPS status triggers as it has no physical damage whatsoever. Now, you can trigger its secondary fire mode by zooming in. Once the trigger is released, it will expend 1 ammo to launch a harpoon that will pull an enemy unit towards you. The drag has an effective range of 30 meters. However, it does still seem to apply damage to targets further out than that, just without the pull effect. It will initially deal under 50% of a single bullet's damage, along with 4 additional ticks of damage. In addition, the pull will render your target in a down state, opening them up for ground finisher damage. Just note that this mechanic does not seem to be affected by split chamber and becomes useless with punch-through mods, but its harpoon does carry all of your weapon's elemental types, allowing each individual tick the potential to inflict any elemental status that is currently equipped on the Paracyst. Now, as you know, I am not one to rant about statuses, however, in this specific case, its synergy is fairly ingenious. Now, speaking of things that aren't genius, can we talk? Okay, so my initial go-to for this would have been some rant about this is what happens when you hoe yourself around town, and why you need to settle down and find one person to fuck incessantly instead. However, this triggered the shit out of my OCD, as the naming convention makes no sense. I get it, it's like a parasite on the Mutalist, so you get Paracyst, but you see, that's just not the way that it works. It's Quanta to Mutalist. That just makes sense. Seriously, think of it. It's like vaginal sex, oral sex, and anal sex. But you know what? Let's not call it anal sex, because that's not interesting enough. Let's call it interhole. Intercourse and asshole put together, because you know, we gotta spice that hole up. We're motherfucking mavericks with our goddamn interhole. Now that I've gotten that out, let's get back to the quick draw. So all in all, the Paracyst comes packed with some fun tricks, from consistently applying status to opening up enemies for ground finishers. While on paper it may not look too impressive, those smart enough to take advantage of its mechanics will do quite well with it. Now, while the deep polarity slot was kind of a kick in the balls, the subliminal recommendation to combine it for viral damage actually seems to work well in its favor. And although the Quanta wins out when it comes to area of effect damage, the recent changes to the Paracyst have made it quite good at taking down single targets. So, whether it's bursting all over them, or getting them flat on their backs, the Paracyst does a good job of transmitting whatever viruses you came packing. So, thank you all for watching another episode of The Quick Draw. If you haven't caught them, I'll toss up links for both the videos I did on the Quanta and the Mutalist Quanta. Now, don't forget to do the thing that I asked you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, stay tuned for more Interhole here at A Gay Guy Plays. Oh yeah. Don't you want to give that a little bit of a kiss? No? Maybe stroke it a little bit? Yeah, and that's why you get your shit checked out, because nobody wants to make out with this freaky mess. Jesus.